Volume of three-dimensional figures. This is a digital lesson. So it starts out explaining to the students the definition of volume, and it introduces 5 three-dimensional shapes: cylinder, cube, rectangular prism, cone, and sphere. So we're going to start with a cube. So volume is measured in cubic units. The volume of a cube is the length times the width times the height. So in this example, 5 times 5 times 5 gives them 125 cubic centimeters. So they have to watch for the units. They could be different on different figures. So there's 2 different ways they can write that. And then they're given an example, 3 times 3 times 3, 27 cubic inches. And the next one they have to do on their own. So they're just going to click in these boxes, 2 times 2 times 2. And then they're going to type 8 and then the word cubic feet. On the last one, 4 times 4 times 4 will give them 64, and they have to type cubic and then meters. Then we move on to the rectangular prism. Again, it's length times width times height, except the measurements are not going to be all the same like they are on a cube. And they're given 3 that they have to find the volume. So they type in the 3 numbers and then the answer. Then we move on to a cylinder. So the volume of a cylinder is the area of the base times the height. So to find the area of the base, we have to take the area of a circle, which is pi r squared. So for pi, we're going to use the abbreviation 3 and 1400ths. And then 3 squared would be 9. So that gives them 28 and 26 hundredths times the height. And we have the height here is 6 inches. So this is their answer for the volume of a cylinder. Now they have 3 examples on the next slide. The first one's done for them. You can have them use a calculator, and they just take pi times the radius squared times the height. Then we move on to the volume of a sphere. So the formula for the volume of a sphere is a little bit more complicated. It's 4/3 times pi times the radius cubed. Okay, so they're going to have to be a little bit more careful on this one. It tells us on here the radius is 6 feet. So you have 4/3 times pi times 6 to the third power, which is 216. When they multiply that out, they get an answer of 904 and 32 hundredths cubic feet. So again, the next slide, they've done the first one's done for them, and they have to do the other 2. And now we have a cone. So the formula for the volume of a cone is 1/3 times pi r squared times the height. So they have 1/3, pi again, 3.14, times 9 times 5. So they're going to use that formula on the next slide. And again, the first one's done for them. And then they have to finish the last 2. Now on the final slide, they're going to use the line tool. So they're going to connect the 3-dimensional figure to its volume formula. So they need to come up here to the line tool, click on line. They'll get a little plus sign. So they just click on here. They're going to have a little blue circle on each end. So on that blue circle, they can click and hold, and then they can move it wherever they like. So they can play around with this. They can change the color. They can change the thickness of the line and just make it their own. They can play around with that and have fun. But they're going to connect the formula to its 3-dimensional figure. And that's a digital lesson on volume.